My dad cheated with my aunt, sending my mom to the hospital. Years later, he demanded I raise their kids. My revenge destroyed their lives. Every Sunday, we had family dinner at my grandparents' house. About 20 people packed in. Melissa always sat between my parents. I thought it was because she was single. Christmas Eve, Mom had been making tamales since 4 a.m., her grandmother's recipe. We were all at my grandparents when my 14-year-old cousin Jake held up his phone. Why is Aunt Melissa sending Uncle Richard pictures of underwear? He grabbed what he thought was his mom's phone. Same rose gold case. Opened a text notification. Hundreds of messages. Hotel meetups during Mom's night shifts. Photos I can never unsee. Messages from 6 months ago discussing when the time was right to tell everyone. My grandmother started reading them out loud in Spanish, getting louder with each one. When she got to the message where Melissa called my mom tragically boring, Mom walked back in holding tamales. She just stood there. The tamales hit the floor. Ceramic shattered everywhere. Nobody moved. We all stared at scattered tamales on the carpet while Mom's face went blank. Melissa started crying. "Sarah, I never meant for you to find out this way." Mom didn't scream, just said, "You're wearing the necklace I gave you for your birthday," and walked out. Dad followed her. They screamed in the driveway. Mom got in her car and left. That was the last normal conversation anyone in my family had. 3 days later, Mom collapsed at work. Severe panic attack, blood pressure so high they admitted her to cardiac observation. When I got there, she was staring at nothing, completely dissociated. They moved her to psych that night after she tried to leave through a 4th-story window. Dad didn't visit once. He was already living with Melissa. 4 months later, Melissa announced she was pregnant with twins. The Facebook post said, "Sometimes God's plan is different than ours, and that's beautiful." Mom stopped eating when she saw it. They put in a feeding tube. That's when they started on me. Dad and Melissa showing up at my apartment crying, saying Mom had always been emotionally unavailable. Melissa sent daily bump updates. When I didn't respond, she showed up at my work. The twins were born in September. By December, they were demanding I babysit. When I said no, Dad threatened to cut me out of his will. Melissa said the twins needed stability since Sarah clearly can't provide it. That's when I started looking at Dad's business. I'd worked there during college doing IT. I still had login access because Dad was terrible with technology. What I found made me sick. Dad had been committing insurance fraud for years. Fake policies for non-existent people, underreported income, false claims to shell companies he controlled, forged signatures, fabricated medical records, fake death certificates. He'd stolen over $800,000 from his own clients, mostly elderly people who trusted him. Melissa was helping him. She'd started working at the agency when their affair began, creating fake medical documentation using connections from the school district. They'd used fraud money to pay for fertility treatments. Their entire new life was built on stolen money. The day I decided to act, Melissa showed up at 6 a.m. with both crying twins. Their nanny had quit. She pushed past me and said, "I'll be back in 4 hours." I called her 90 minutes later. "Come get your children, now." When she arrived, I had everything printed. Bank statements, emails discussing fake medical records, forged signatures. "I'm sending this to the State Insurance Commission tomorrow," I said, "and the FBI." Her face went gray. "You'd destroy your own family? You already did that." Dad called 50 times in 2 hours, begging and threatening. Said he'd claim I helped with the fraud, except I had proof I hadn't touched that business since graduation. At 9 a.m. the next morning, I emailed everything to the State Insurance Commission, the FBI, and local news outlets. The investigation moved fast. Within a week, federal agents raided the agency and their apartment. They found even more. Dad had been buying medical equipment with fake prescriptions, then reselling it. The news coverage was brutal. Papers ran stories about the trusted agent who preyed on elderly clients. The school district fired Melissa. Their church asked them not to return. Everything got seized. Apartment, cars, bank accounts. The twins ended up with Melissa's ex-husband. Dad took a plea deal. 7 years for mail fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft. Melissa refused to cooperate. She got 4 years. At sentencing, Dad stared at me the entire time. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, he looked right at me. "I hope you can live with what you've done." I stared back. "I'm not the one going to prison. Mom got released 2 months ago. The twins are doing well with Melissa's ex and his wife. Dad sends letters from prison. I burn them unopened.